Okay, so I said it in the last video and I'm going to say it again because a lot of people seem to disagree with me. Newcastle United are not a stepping stone club anymore, and I'm going to tell you why. Right, so before I get into this actual video, I've got a little bit of housekeeping to do. So first of all, I'm going to actually remember to ask you guys to subscribe if you are a regular viewer of the channel. I always forget to ask this because I just get carried away with my rant and just forget to mention it. But all the advice on YouTube always says that it's something that you have to do, so please remember to subscribe. About 70% of the regular viewers on this channel haven't subscribed, and the reason I'm asking this time is because we are nearly at 5k now, and to be at 5k within the first 5 months of this channel is just like absolutely mind-blowing how quickly it's grown, especially considering a couple of months of that time have been when I haven't really been posting that much because it's been the transfer window. So I'm absolutely over the moon grateful with all the support that the channel's already getting. But off the back of the last video, there's a few people saying that they want me to be able to make more videos, and I'm going to be able to make more videos the more this channel grows. So if you do enjoy the content, please remember to subscribe, hit the bell. And another reason to subscribe and hit the bell, and the second kind of bit of housekeeping that I need to do before we get into the actual flesh of the video, is that I need to let you know that there will be another giveaway on this video. But for this video, it's a little bit different because there's 2 games this weekend. But yeah, another reason to make sure you subscribe and hit the bell, because you don't want to get to the giveaway too late and then obviously your prediction's already gone. So the sooner you get to the video, if you get that bell notification and it's got a giveaway on the video, if you whack your prediction down straight away, you're going to be the first person with that prediction. You don't want to be sat there having to predict 9-5 Nick Pope first goal scorer because all the other good predictions have been taken. But anyway, let's get into the actual video now. Now, off the back of the last video, there was a lot of comments, and people who have been watching the channel for a while now know that I will try and make an effort to reply to every comment on the channel as long as that's manageable for me. And so far it has been manageable, and there's still every single comment so far. I still don't have any comments left in my unresponded comments section on my YouTube studio thing. As I've said many a times, I'm just very grateful for you taking the time to comment on the channel, support the channel. So for as long as it is manageable, I will try and reply to every comment, just to, you know, at least show you that I'm actually reading the comments and responding. And when it gets to a point where it's not manageable to respond to them all, I'm still going to make a point of trying to read them all. Because to be honest, one of the main things I'm actually really enjoying about having this channel is hearing different clubs' perspectives. Like, I say something on a video and then people give me differing opinions, and it actually does change my opinion, because at the end of the day, football is just a game of opinions. And at times, fans from other clubs do give me something that I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. Good point. Now, anyway, on the last video, or the last few videos, there has been a lot of Liverpool fans. Obviously, with the whole Isak saga going on, there's been a lot of Liverpool fans commenting on the videos. And before I get into what the Liverpool fans have been saying, I just want to make it clear that I don't actually hate Liverpool. Like, a lot of fans, maybe off the last few videos, maybe think that I do dislike them. I don't. I actually quite like Liverpool as a club. I have a few friends that are Liverpool fans. I have some really good conversations with them about, you know, Liverpool and Newcastle. They also really like Newcastle. Like, they're not a club that I hate at all. Like, we're both very similar clubs with very passionate fan bases, grounded in sort of like history, tradition, very like working class backgrounds. And despite some of these really kind of like insufferable fans in the comments that say fucking boring shit, like Liverpool are a massive club, Newcastle are tiny, like not a single Newcastle fan thinks that we're as big a club as Liverpool. We all know that we're not. So the people that are commenting shit like that, like, it's just fucking boring. Like, if you're here to just have a little big dick competition with yourself, like, just don't even waste your time. Like, as I've said, I'm going to try and reply to every comment, but you're not going to get much out of me for a comment like that other than just like a thumbs up or something. Like, it's just a pointless comment. It's boring. Everyone knows Liverpool are a bigger club than Newcastle. No one's trying to make that fucking case. But yeah, our games with Liverpool have always been mega entertaining. We're very similar clubs, very like, both have very strong like cultural identities within their city. But yeah, I can't say that some of these fucking insufferable fans over the past few weeks haven't made it a little harder for me to like Liverpool at the moment. But overall, I do like Liverpool as a club. But anyway, moving on from that, what was actually said in comments about, because it was mainly on the Fabrizio Romano section of the last video, where people were kind of all saying the same thing. And as I said, mainly Liverpool fans, and a lot of what the Liverpool fans were saying were 2 things. One, that Liverpool would never pay Fabrizio Romano to manipulate the narrative, and 2, that Newcastle are a stepping stone club. So let me address both of these points. So the first one, would Liverpool pay Fabrizio Romano to manipulate the narrative around the whole Isak saga? So to answer that, let's first start with, would Fabrizio Romano be paid to manipulate the narrative within the media? Now, the answer to that is yes. Yes, he would. And we know this because he's actually been exposed for doing so by other club owners. So back in February 2024, a couple of Danish clubs, Copenhagen and Vålerenga or something, staff within them clubs both confirmed that Fabrizio Romano had offered their clubs articles or tweets that would manipulate the media perception around their clubs, obviously in return for money. Mehran Amundsen Mansari or Ansari or something, I can't remember what his name was, but he was the marketing manager at Vålerenga Oslo at the time, and he recounts immediately unfollowing and blocking Fabrizio Romano on social media once he received this offer. And then FC Copenhagen's communications manager Jes Mortensen also confirmed Copenhagen had received a similar pitch from Fabrizio Romano's PR company Memo PR. So from that we know Fabrizio Romano will take money to say things. So that's the first part of this puzzle addressed. Yes, he will. Now on to the second part, would Liverpool pay that? Now again, as I said, I read a lot of the comments, sometimes people make fair points, and a lot of people made a fair point about the Liverpool thing, that Liverpool actually apparently hate Fabrizio Romano. Apparently it's something to do with an article that he wrote about Thiago, and since then they've just absolutely detested him. And also the other fair point that people made is it's more than likely Isak's agent, if anyone is paying Fabrizio Romano to say things, which it very well could be. But let's just ask the question, because a lot of people ask this as well, why would Liverpool pay that? So let's ask that question. Why would Liverpool pay Fabrizio Romano to do this? So let's look at the whole Isak saga from start to finish. At the time of starting negotiations, what we had was a disgruntled Isak, a Liverpool that wanted an Isak, and a Newcastle that had an Isak and didn't want to lose the Isak. So generally, in a negotiation, if someone has an in-demand commodity that they categorically do not want to lose, do not want to sell that commodity, they want to keep it for their own use. But the buyer wants to persuade them to try and sell that commodity. Whenever that happens, that puts the seller in a very strong position because the seller doesn't need or want to sell. And if the buyer can't offer a deal good enough to make the seller want to sell, then the sale won't happen. The seller then comes away with exactly what they wanted in the first place, which was they don't have to sell their commodity and they get to keep it. Now, Liverpool, as we know from their bids, but also how long this has gone on for, they do not want to pay the 150 million that we want to even start considering selling Isak. And obviously, as I've said, that would be the only way to get us to start to consider it. So how else could they get us to start to consider selling Isak? And again, I'm not saying it is Liverpool. It could be Isak's agent, but we're just answering the question of whether or not Liverpool would have a motive to do this. So again, what other ways are there to bring Newcastle to the table where they're more open to the idea of selling Isak? Ultimately, the buyer has to get themselves a better position in the negotiation, because currently, as it stood at the start, Liverpool didn't really have much of a position in the negotiations. So then what the buyer has to essentially do is try and make the commodity less desirable to the seller, because we don't want to sell it, because we want to keep it, because we think it's great. So what the buyer has to do is they have to try and, as I said, gain leverage in the negotiations by somehow making the commodity less desirable to the seller. So making us want Isak less. And that has been the exact outcome of all this media bullshit. Everything that has came out in the media since this started has all been very much orchestrated towards the current outcome, which has been Isak has started acting disrespectfully towards the club. Fans have now fallen out with him and most now want him gone. And there's a growing acceptance within the club's hierarchy that it's probably best that we sell him. So for Liverpool to gain a leverage in the negotiations and actually bring us to the table where Isak could potentially be sold, they needed this exact situation. Oh, and the media's given them it. And that's not me saying we are at fault in any way. We are at fault for many things. We didn't increase Isak's wage. We should have done. We didn't replace the backroom staff quickly enough, which ultimately led to a bit of a fuck up of a transfer window. Like, I understand why Isak wants to leave, but what Isak has chosen to come out and say, and then what has happened as a result of the media, are two different things. Isak said he wants to explore his options. The media have created this into an absolute fucking circus, all to the benefit of Liverpool, because as many Liverpool fans keep saying now, he's your problem now, you deal with it. Essentially, in the hope we come running to them and be like, yeah, he's a bit of a problem now. Can you just take him off our hands for 100 million? But what everyone seems to be failing to realize here is a few things. He's still under a 3-year contract. It's been, as we all know, very well reported that he's not actually paid that well. He's on a similar wage to Matt Targett, who's barely played a fucking game for us. So realistically, it's not really that much skin off our back paying the rest of his wages for the next 3 years. I'm not saying we're going to do that, but it's not really that much of a problem for us because we've been doing it with Matt Targett. So what I'm saying is that if it does go that sour, sitting him in the under 21s isn't going to cost us that much on a wage front. It's not like we've got someone like Jadon Sancho or Rashford at Man United where they were literally just paying out their ass for these huge wages for someone that was giving them nothing. And then also, we haven't made a first team signing other than Alanga in 3 windows. So we don't really have any kind of PSR worries. So we still don't need to sell. Now, as I said, if it did get that toxic to the point where we had to stick him in the under 21s, then we could still sell him next year for more than we bought him for. He'd still be considered one of the best number 9s in the world. You know, Osimhen still went for, I think, 80 million this window. And at one point, he was on top of the world, and then his career has been an absolute fucking train wreck since. The other side of it is, with the amortized deal as well being a further year down the line from when we bought him, if we were to sell him next year, within the PSR books, that amortized deal being a further year down the line would offset some of the loss. So in terms of actual loss, it's nothing, because the only loss to our finances are PSR losses. Our owners can afford to front up any amount of actual losses. It's only PSR losses. And then that's not even mentioning that it's a World Cup year. Isak is 26, so about to hit his prime years of his career. And a large part of why he's doing this is because he's hitting the prime years of his career and he wants to be able to take that opportunity right now. You know, he said that a career is short and whatever else. So if he does carry on being a bellend and gets thrown into the under 21s, he's got more to lose in this than we do, at least over the next year anyway. So ultimately, as we have heard many a times, we are actually in a very strong contractual position with Isak. So unless Liverpool want to go into next season with just Ekatike up top, because it looks like Darwin Núñez is going, so unless they want to go into next season with just Ekatike up top or go and sign another striker, then it is still a seller's market. Granted, our position may now have softened and we are now potentially willing to come to the table. It is still a seller's market here, despite the efforts of Fabrizio Romano, which again, as I said, it may not be Liverpool doing this. It may be just Isak's agent at play, because don't for a second assume that even if Liverpool aren't the ones funding this behavior, don't for a second think they're trying to stop it, because outside of Isak's agent getting commission on the deal, they are the only ones massively benefiting from how this is playing out. Because as I said, we've gone from a position where we would not have sold unless Liverpool came to the table with at least 150 million. Whereas now we're still in a strong position, but we might actually potentially even come down from 150, or we might just have to stick to 150. And what we're definitely not now in is a position where we can just absolutely rinse Liverpool in the way that we potentially were before if Liverpool were dead set on that one player. Now, on to the second point that a lot of people wanted to let me know about in the comments. A lot of people really enjoyed saying that Newcastle are a stepping stone club, because again, Romano said that players don't want to come to Newcastle because we are refusing to sell our players and they then can't use us as a stepping stone club. So obviously I said we're not a stepping stone club. Now, firstly, on Romano's comments, I want anyone in the comments to let me know exactly who we have received a bid that's worth considering for and we have refused to let that player go. Because we're being told now that apparently we refuse to sell our players. I just want one example of a bid that has came in that is actually worth considering where we have refused to sell the player. Because I can give you a casing example of the other way around, where we went in for Mark Gahey, we met the asking price, they moved the goalposts and asked for more and refused to sell him. And where was Fabrizio Romano then? But now Fabrizio Romano is coming in and telling us that we should be selling our players to the first bid, even though the bid is absolutely pathetic and nowhere near what we've asked for. Literally about 40 million less than what we're asking for. Just for the record, I'm talking about the 110 million reported bid for Isak. 110 million for someone who is widely considered as the all-round best number 9 in the world. I mean, Liverpool have just signed Wirtz for a deal with add-ons that could add up to 116 million. And I'm not saying Wirtz isn't a quality player. He is a quality player, but he's not a number 9, the most high price tag position in football. He's not Premier League proven, and he's also not even considered as the best number 10 in the world. Granted, he is a very, very, very top level player, potentially in the conversation for one of the best number 10s in the world, but for most people at this point, Isak is considered as the best all-round number 9 in world football. Now, of course, there is the caveat that Isak is a little bit injury prone, but regardless, 110 million is not anywhere near an acceptable offer for Isak. And ultimately, as I said from the start, we never wanted to sell. Liverpool want to buy. We have a good contractual position and we have set a price tag of 150 million. So I still can't quite understand, considering this hasn't happened with any other player, why there is now a perception from Fabrizio Romano that we refuse to sell our players when there hasn't been a bid that isn't absolutely pathetic. But of course, Fabrizio Romano, at least he suggests we should just accept Liverpool's first bid, even though it's miles under what we're asking for, and just hand over our best assets just because it's Liverpool. So obviously, my response to that was that we are not a stepping stone club. And obviously, loads of Liverpool fans in the comments said that we are. Now, this depends on how you define stepping stone club, because the way I see it, there's two ways that you can define it. You can define it on the players' motives or the club's motives. And what I mean by this is if you use the players' motives, the players' intentions for what they intend to use a club for, as in, will a player ever use that club as a route to get to another club that they want to be at more? If we use that definition, then every club is a stepping stone club other than Madrid and Barca. So that kind of just ends that conversation. It's a little bit boring. Like, it just kind of closes the conversation there. There's no sort of room for debate, discussion. It's just every club is a stepping stone club other than Barca and Madrid. Great, done. You know, Liverpool have just seen that very clearly with Trent. So if that's how we're going to use that definition, then yes, Newcastle are a stepping stone club in the same way that Liverpool are, every other club is. Like, let's just close the book and be done with that conversation, never bring it up again. Or if, as football fans, we actually want to have a discussion about things like trajectories, the quality of a project, you know, club's aspirations, all that kind of stuff, and considering we're labeling the club as a stepping stone club, I think it makes more sense to look at how the club themselves are acting, not how one player is acting within a club. Like, as a casing example, Thomas Partey himself doesn't make Arsenal a bunch of wrong-uns. Thomas Partey's a wrong-un, but he doesn't make Arsenal as a club a bunch of wrong-uns. If somehow Arsenal's recruitment policy had somehow led them to signing Thomas Partey, Benjamin Mendy, Adam Johnson and Mason Greenwood, then you'd have a case to say that Arsenal are a bunch of wrong-uns. The point I'm making there is that how one player chooses to use a club doesn't define what a club is doing, and ultimately doesn't define that club. So the reason I'm saying we're not a stepping stone club is because we will not sell our best players, at least not easily anyway. You know, we are aiming to compete at the top. We are not looking to make a profit like a Brighton, for example, would be. If you want to take our best players, you are derailing our aspirations, so you are going to have to pay a lot for that. Brighton's aspiration isn't to compete at the top. Brighton's aspiration is to unearth talent and sell it on for a profit. So they are always willing to come to the table and negotiate. The point of me saying we're not a stepping stone club is that we are not willing to come to the table and negotiate. Liverpool have had to force us, whether it be through them or whether it be through Isak's agent or whoever's done it, Liverpool, we have had to have been forced to come to the table here and negotiate. And obviously, as I said, that can either be done through two things. Either someone coming to the table with enough money that we can't turn the deal down, or some sort of level of underhand tactics which seem to have gone on here. So when I say we are not a stepping stone club, I know that we're not Madrid. I know that we're not Liverpool even. Every single Newcastle fan knows that we're not as big as Liverpool. But what we are, through our club's behaviours and ambitions, is we are in a position to tell anyone that wants to come and derail our progress to fuck right off. Because as I said, when we sign a top quality player, it isn't to sell them on for a profit. It isn't to act in the way that stepping stone clubs do. We want to sign top quality players to do what top clubs do. We want players to help us win trophies and compete at the highest level. And whatever you think about where we are on that journey is irrelevant, because ultimately, whether you like it or not, that is how we operate now. And it seems that maybe like a lot of fans don't want to swallow that pill because it means that they can't now come to Newcastle and take our players as easily as they used to be able to do. But ultimately, that's where we are now. We are not a stepping stone club. That is not how we operate anymore. Anyway, rant over. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I'll get into the giveaway now. I'll explain a bit about that. So as I said, there's 2 games this weekend, but I'm not going to be able to do another video after this one before the 2 games of the weekend because I'm working every day up until Saturday actually. So I'm missing the Friday game, but then Saturday I have got the day off, so I'm going to that one. So what I'm going to do on this game is I am going to do a £50 giveaway in the comments, kind of as usual for the Real Betis game on this one, and then on Twitter after the Real Betis game I will do a £50 giveaway for the Madrid game. So if you want to be involved on the giveaways, Again, as I said in the last video, follow me on Twitter. It'll all be ran on Twitter this time. So other than that, usual procedure on the pinned comments to keep it nice and simple. Score prediction and first goal scorer for the Real Betis game. I'm leaving all the Benjamin Sesko stuff until after the weekend, so probably on the Sunday when I'll do a reaction to the games and also the Benjamin Sesko news, however which way that goes. So again, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you everyone for watching and all the support on the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.